Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Mission Empowered podcast of me, your host, Emily. I hope you're all doing very, very well. I'll be honest, just before we get into the episode, this is take 4, which is not like me. Take 4 of this episode, purely for the fact I've realised the last 3 or 4 episodes I've done have been with people. I've recorded them with other people. And it's much more, not better, but I mean, the focus is there when you're with someone else because it's like a flowing conversation. I've just done 3 takes of chatting absolute shit in the first minute, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to save you that. I spoke about my hair. I spoke about the fan in the background. I was like, come on, get on with it. So we're not going to talk about the fan in the background or my hair being in a plait. If you are watching on video, you can see both of them. We're just going to get straight in, okay? We are going to talk today all about stress, and this is one of them episodes. You've heard me say this on, episodes where I've spoke about fiber, episodes where I've spoke about hydration, sleep. This is going to be a really big fundamental episode that I know that I am going to share with clients way into the future, that you might share with someone that you know that actually thinks, oh crikey, they need to hear this. So yeah, and it's one that I've wanted to do for a long time, but because I love to put like unnecessary pressure on myself for things to be really good, that's why I put it off. But today is the day, so let's go. The first thing we're going to do in order of this episode is we're going to understand what stress is and what types of stress there are, because we need stress in our lives. We need to have a stressful response to keep us alive. The problem is we have it too much in this day and age, which is why we now have the phrases like chronic stress and, stress-induced illnesses that come from chronic stress. So as always, I hope by the end of this episode, you feel more informed about stress. You feel more informed to know how to action to relieve stress. And then I know you are listening to get some tips on and maybe a bit more understanding of how stress actually impacts fat loss, because it does, and it does massively. Okay, so we'll get to that bit. Because you know me, you just know me. If you're listening, your likelihood is you've listened to plenty. I'm not just about the physique side of things. We've got to take a holistic approach of understanding every aspect of life and health to have that complete picture. So that's what we're going to go through first. So why is it important to understand stress? And it's important to understand stress because stress affects everything. It affects our health, it affects our physique, it affects our mindset, our mental health, it affects our life. Okay, so we absolutely need to understand the different types of stresses. So we're going to jump into that now. So we've got 2 different types of stress, okay? We've got distress. Now, you've probably heard of that one before. This is our bad stress. And if you think about that emotion and distress, like what feeling that gives you, it gives you that anxious feeling, that shitty feeling, that angry feeling. It's not a very nice feeling, and that's distress, okay? The other one you might not have heard of is eustress. Eustress, okay? So not you being stressed, eustress. Now, this is positive stress. This is good stress. And the biggest one I'm going to relate this to is exercise. Exercise, you may or may not know, is still a stress on the body. But I'm going to decipher eustress and distress in a minute. But the positive thing about exercise is the outcome is normally that after we've done a little workout or we've done our exercise program, we feel good, we feel better. In return, we get stronger, we get fitter. Okay, so I want you to bear that in mind, that stress doesn't always mean bad. It can mean good as well. And we want the good stuff and we want less of the bad stuff. So let's break that down. So eustress, I've got my notes here as well, just in case you see me glancing down. So eustress then, little list of what this is. Normally, our good stress tends to be short bouts of it. So if you think of a workout, it's normally 30 minutes, 60 minutes, it's short, okay? It's not multiple times a day, multiple times a week. So if we're doing workouts, what are we looking at? Maybe between 3 and 5 a week, okay? And this is why I wanted to mention workouts, because I'm going to reference to it. It's over quickly. It's a positive experience, and it makes us better. The outcome improves us. Okay, so all of them things are positive, good stress. Okay, so we can see now, oh yeah, good stress. Let me give you another context, because stress isn't just about physiological, it can be in every area of life. Okay, it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's environmental. So another example of good stress would be signing yourself up to signing yourself up in work. Okay, so let's talk about work stress and how we can make this good stress. I've got a mark on my screen, it's really annoying me. Right, so you sign up to do a big talk in front of your boss. Okay, not someone's, well, yeah, someone could have made you do it, or you've just signed up to it, and to give a presentation, and you're absolutely shitting a brick before you do it, but at the end of it, you are going to have the opportunity to have more awareness to the big bosses. You're going to have an opportunity to get a pay raise. You are going to prove yourself in your job position. Okay, so again, that stress at the time might feel a little scary, a little bit overwhelming, but the outcome is it's short term. It's a half an hour presentation. It's infrequent. And the benefits are you're going to be better at public speaking afterwards. You're going to have more presence in your office. So that, again, is a eustress. And, oh, yeah, I wish I had a visual I could show you, yeah, but I'm going to try and explain it with my hands and with my words. So what I want you to imagine on this graph of eustress, right, is like a baseline of where you are now, okay? You then go through stress, which causes that baseline to actually drop, because it's not that nice feeling overwhelmed and scared. But with eustress, what happens is we then come up another few pegs than where our baseline was before. And our new baseline is higher than our original baseline. Okay, so you think of, should have planned this out much better. So your baseline, let's say your baseline is a 3. You then go through that stress and it takes you down to a 0. But then on the other side of that stress, because it's eustress, it brings you up to a 6. So your new baseline is higher than where we started. Are you with me? Okay, because we've had the positive outcome of doing the workout, the meeting, the signing up to a 10K. Obviously a lot of stuff I talk about was like fitness, but you get it, okay? Prime example, my Mission Empowered Live event. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. What if no one comes? What if it's shit? What if I can't get my words out? But ultimately, I know that going through all of that and the stress of organising and preparing it and going through the day in the organisation, that the outcome now is I get to say I can public speak. I can hold my own in a room full of women and talk about my expertise. It's making me more established in my field. So perfect example of eustress is how nervous and stressed I was in the run up, but the after effect is how much that's made me improve as like a person and as a coach and as a public speaker. So that is eustress. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of an insight of what good stress is. Okay, we then come on to distress, the bad stress, and this is things like long stress, long lengths of stress, chronic stress. For example, your job, not liking your job, going to work and it being stressful from the moment you walk into the door to the moment that you leave, 5 days a week, 5 weeks a month, 12 months of the year. That is what we're talking about, chronic stress, okay? It's ongoing, so it's continuous, it's negative, it's depressing. So like we said about eustress, you might feel a little bit stressed about going to the gym or doing a new workout, but you know that it's short term and it's going to end, so that's okay. Whereas if you're in a job you absolutely hate and it causes you stress day in day out with no end in sight, that is what we call distress. And we can have that again in relationships. Relationships are such a big one when it comes to stress, of like, they can feel demoralizing. Let's say you're in a really unhappy marriage but you're staying because of the kids. Like, I hope no one is like that, because I think that's really sad. But it's things like that where we actually have to understand that distress is really going to be impactful on our health. Now, the opposite is what the eustress graph was. You have your baseline, okay? Your baseline is, we'll use the same number, is a 3, okay? That distress that you go through causes it drop to a 0. but there's no positive because it's just ongoing and it's demoralizing and it's upsetting and it's depressing. So we stay at a 0 and there's no comeback. Then what happens? Well, we're in this chronic stress, so it keeps dropping. So you can see that the opposite effect here. If we put ourselves through short-term good stress, things that give us a better outcome, that is how we grow. That is how we become more resilient. Mentally, we get stronger physically. We become this better person by going through short bouts of stress, but it's stress. Whereas compare that to chronic stress, distress, the bad stress, it's just a downward spiral. Okay, which is why so many people now are suffering with chronic stress, are on medication for chronic stress, and we're going to talk about solutions later on in the episode. But for me, it's just making sure you understand that when we talk about stress, we're not talking about one type of stress. We've got different types, okay? And as I mentioned before, stress comes from all areas of our life. So we've got work stress, we've got emotional stress, we've got physical stress. Environmental stress is the environment that you're in most of the time. Are you in, for example, I don't mean like a hostile environment at home, but it could be that you're in the only thing I can think of, you're in a house with a hole in the ceiling. Okay, that environmental stress of being cold, of coming in and there's rain coming through leaking through the ceiling, that's environmental stress. Okay, let me see if there's any other one. I covered this is a prime example, by the way. Relationships, we're not just talking about partner relationships, friendships. Have you got friends? Have you got family that cause you stress? Everybody in sync at the same time is like, yes. The phone goes and fucking hell, this is going to be a stressful conversation. And I really hope it's not, but I know a lot of people are in relationships that they know each night when they get in from work, it's going to be a bit of an eye roll. It's just that ongoing stress. So what we have to look at is our areas of stress in each of our lives, okay? And then we have to look at how much we can take on. Okay, so this is something called your allostatic load. Okay, allostatic load is it's called allostatic load. I call it your life plate, and that's what we're going to call it in this episode. Because I love an analogy, and this is what I use with my clients. Okay, it's your life plate, and what this means is, imagine you've got a plate shock, and you've got all the bits and bobs from your life on that plate. Okay, your allostatic load is how much you can fit on that plate without things falling off. Now, this is going to make a lot of sense in a minute and how I apply it to my coaching and fat loss and lifestyle change, okay? Because if you think on your life plate, you've got work, you've got kids, you've got relationship, you've got external commitments, you've got the gym, you've got run club, whatever. And then you are like, right, okay, I'm doing all of this stuff, but I want to start a side hustle. I really want to start a side hustle of a side business. So you then start trying to incorporate, or you want to go back to college and do another education certificate or something like that. Anything, okay? Your load, your life plate might already be too full, okay? So you going back to college, what you then might find is your exercise regime drops out. You start dropping the ball on getting up to go for your morning walk. You might start forgetting to pick the kids up from school. Okay, so when these little things start to happen, hopefully not the latter, but when these little things start to happen, this is your sign that your allostatic load is too much. It's too much for you. Okay, and we need to find a way to reduce that. Now, a little side note on this is everybody's life plate is different. And we're going to get to solutions. So don't worry if you feel like, oh my God, my life plate is like a fucking side plate. It's not big at all because I get overwhelmed, blah, blah. Everybody's life plate is different, okay? So this is why we don't do comparison, because when we look at someone and think, because I look at a lot of people and I think, how do you do what you do? How do you do that? you know? And how do you deal with X, Y, and Z? But then I look at where I am now compared to where I was 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, me would have looked at me now and been like, how are you not having a regular mentee B? How are you not breaking down every day? Okay, so your allostatic load isn't definitive, but it is what it is right now. Okay, and there are things that we can do to increase it without hitting burnout, without hitting overwhelm. But what we have to remember is that with your life plate, I'm just reading my notes. I wish I hadn't done that because it's literally what I was going to say. With your life plate though, and let's turn this into fat loss, physique change, getting fitter, whatever, okay, is that this is why so many people fail and why so many people go, I can't do the gym, I can't track my food, I can't do this. And it's because the load of life is already heavy. So when you try and implement change when you're stressed, it is the worst time to do it. There are two fundamentals for me that I ask people when they come into coaching. We talk about their stress levels and their how busy they are in life. And I ask them about their sleep hygiene and their sleep quality and sleep routine. Because without managing stress and without good quality sleep, you are up shit creek when it comes to change. It ain't happening. It is not happening. Okay. And if it is happening, you are going to feel like you are putting in 100% for 2% rewards, because it is going to feel like the biggest struggle you have ever done. Okay. So it's really important now to just recap on, we've got good stress, we've got bad stress. Okay, we need to understand how that impacts on our whole life, because it does, as we've covered. Okay, the last thing I want to touch on is how it affects like our health. So when we have chronic bad stress, as I've said before, we're in a really unhappy job, in an unhappy relationship, we're surrounded maybe by negative people, we feel overwhelmed at the aspect that we should be looking after ourselves and we're not. That can give us chronic stress. All of this then impacts your immunity. And I'm going to circle this back around to something I said maybe like 5 minutes ago, which is why so many of us in the world, not even in this country, are suffering with chronic stress related illnesses, because having chronic stress massively impacts our body's immunity, because it impacts our body's ability to recover. And when I was doing my research for this podcast, and just because obviously the research on stress is absolutely huge, but I like to make things straight down the line and applicable and what's going to be useful for us. But one of the things that I did read, and it was one of the light bulb moments for me, it makes so much sense. As I said at the beginning, stress is important. There are positives to stress, okay? When we're in a fight or flight situation, our stress hormone, our cortisol, will spike to make us react quicker, okay? If we're in an accident and we get cut or wounded, your stress hormone will increase, so your inflammation is there to protect your body, okay? All like things like that. What was the other things it was saying? Okay, if you're chronic, so basically if you're in a stressful situation, your body knows it has to keep you alert. So it spikes your cortisol hormone, your stress hormone, your alertness is there. Okay, let's just do them two for now, so I don't lose my train of thought. But here's the thing with chronic stress. Okay, we need to have inflammation if we're in danger and we've been cut and we're injured, to stop us dying of blood loss. But the problem that we have now in our world is we live in chronic stress. So our body is constantly telling itself to be inflamed, be inflamed. And what happens? We then get chronic inflammation. And we know that chronic inflammation is really, really bad for our health. Okay. And this is where disease and medical conditions come in. With chronic inflammation, it tends to come from chronic stress. The same with, I was saying about the alertness. How many people, well, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's bloody high. And maybe you listen to this, suffer with sleep, suffer with insomnia, suffer with not having a sleep routine. And it's because we're on high alert all the time. So as I said, if we're in a fight or flight situation, let's go back to caveman times when this was really relevant. We know there's a tiger outside our cave, and if we fall asleep, the tiger's going to come in and eat us. So what does your body do? It starts pumping cortisol, so you don't fall asleep, so you stay alive. Relative. Okay, thanks, body. Don't want to get eaten by a tiger. But the problem we now live in, we're not going to get eaten by tigers. We're not living in Chester Zoo. You know, we're living in our nice little comfy houses. We don't need chronic cortisol going for our body, keeping us alive. But we do things in our day-to-day life that create that cortisol that keeps us alert, that affect us and stop us going for sleep. Okay, so that's two examples of how the stress that we need, and that even a small amount of distress is going to help us in that fight or flight situation. But what's that thing? Too much of a good thing, or whatever that's saying. You know, we're now living in a time where we're having too much of it, and that is the repercussion: is high inflammation, lack of sleep. We're going to talk about food choice in a minute, but all of this then affects our immunity, which is then why we're all getting ill and we're getting poorly. Even to the point, I've got another great one for you as well, which causes distress to do with fat loss. Under eating, massive calorie deficits for too long, and over exercise. Okay, so this is where, again, dieting and having programmed exercise and making sure we're getting recovery, having the right plan for you is really important. Because if you just go on, I was talking to this about to my friends yesterday, if you just go on 1,000-calorie diet because in your head you're thinking fast fat loss, gonna get it, you know, but actually what you're doing is that to your body is an insane amount of stress because it's not getting enough energy to function. So it's then starting to be stressed about that. So it increases your stress levels. And we're going to talk about in a very, very couple of minutes how cortisol affects you not losing fat. Okay. So high stress comes from low calorie because it's putting your body in a state of technically like starvation. And that's not good for your body. The same with exercise. Okay. We want to exercise, as I said, because this produces eustress. We get better because when we exercise, it's a small amount of stress. We learn to recover. We learn to be more resilient. We then go, we get better. Okay. But this is where working out every single day doesn't help. Okay. Or doing intense exercise over and over and over and over and over again doesn't help, such as doing 2 HIIT classes a day, 7 days a week, or even the majority of your training being HIIT classes 6-7 days of the week. Okay, we need to find that balance of movement, but not in a way that's putting so much stress on our bodies. So, I've lost my train of thought. No, I haven't. So the last part is stress on low calories, stress on high intensity exercise or overwhelming exercise. Now you may not have heard of like losing your periods when you are super stressed, or when people go on too low calorie diet for too long, or people are over exercising. Hypothalamic amenorrhea, couldn't think of it then, but thought of it just in the end. So hypothalamic amenorrhea is when you lose your periods through a state of stress. Okay, your body is saying you are too stressed to carry a baby. So we're not going to let you ovulate. We're not going to give you a period. How scary is that? And I feel like this maybe isn't talked about enough or a lot, but if you have ever done a diet or over exercise or whatever, or maybe you're even there now, and it's got nothing to do with body weight, by the way. They used to say people used to think it was only just for like people who were skinny or really slim. It's not. I've had people come to me and have not had a period for a year. They've got body fat to lose, but they've put their body through so much short-term stress, as in low-calorie diet, over-exercise, and then binged, and then eaten, and then not done nothing. That's fucking stressful for your body. It doesn't know whether it's coming or going. And it is just in a state of, you're not healthy enough to carry a baby, because essentially that is what, for the majority of us who aren't suffering with fertility medical issues, but if you're not getting a period and you're not ovulating, it is your body's way of saying there's something wrong, that we can't carry a baby. And yes, so when it comes to food and it comes to exercise, it can also affect our fertility due to the amount of stress that's in our body. So another one for us there. Okay, so as you can see, this episode could have been hours long, okay? Could have gone down right loads of rabbit holes. And I have got a guest who will want to come on to talk about stress a little bit more in depth, but hopefully this is going to be an insight to you. So we've covered what it is, what it does, how it affects us, our health, our immunity. But let's talk about how it actually does affect fat loss, and why I said previously, if you are uber stressed or you are not getting enough sleep, it is freaking pointless you trying to lose weight, because it is going to be a massive uphill struggle. And then, not to mention, if you're super stressed, you've probably felt this before when you've had a stressful day, how irritable you are and how like snappy and how much you lose your shit at the drop of a hat, because you've got nothing else to give. You've got no space between that irrational and rational thought, because it's taken up with stress. So imagine how disappointed that you are, feeling like you're putting this effort in, but actually you're just running around like a blue ass fly, trying to not lose shit, and then the scales and the measurements and the photos don't change. You are going to be devastated, pissed off, furious, and what that's going to lead to, probably fucking it off and going on a binge or drinking a bottle of wine or whatever. So it's really important to understand, to get your stress, you need to get your stress and you need to get your sleep under control before you then embark on a physique change. Okay, so I wish I could pause these and I definitely can't. So we're just going to have to intro just why I read, because the reason I have my notes is, if you're aware of this podcast, is I can absolutely go off on one, and so I have my notes to keep me on track. Right, let's have a little look here. Let's talk about that one. Okay. Before I explain about hormones and how that is going to affect where body fat is on your body, the thing I want to just be really clear about first is that the biggest impact stress has on fat loss is due to behavior. Biggest, okay? Is that when we are stressed, as I said before, and our life place is really full, it's not necessarily the fact that your stress hormone is going to be high that it's going to make it more difficult for you to lose fat or for you to retain body fat around your stomach. It's going to be the behaviors that we do around being stressed. For example, as I said, when we are stressed, we're never normally like, I'm so stressed, but I'm having the best time of my life. Like, honestly, I could cry, but I just smiley. Like, we're not like that. When we're stressed, we're miserable. We swear. We don't smile. Like, we feel down in the dumps. We feel shit. And what is an outlook for us when we feel shit? What is not an outlook? What is an forgot the word. Outlet. What is an outlet for us when we feel shit? It's food. It's wine. It's Netflix, you know? So what do we do when we feel shit? We reach for the biscuits. We want the chocolate. We want the wine. But here's the understanding bit, right? Why do we want that? Well, if chronic stress makes us feel shit and sad, our body is telling us, let's get rid of this shit and sad feeling by having a hit of dopamine and happy feeling, and that's good. And where is the quickest source for us to do that? It's food. I didn't say best, I said quickest, because we'll talk about solution in a minute, because we know solution wise, going for a walk also gives us that dopamine hit, doing a workout also gives us that dopamine hit, right? But it takes a little bit more action, it takes a little bit more discipline, willpower, energy. Now, if we're stressed and we don't have willpower, we don't have discipline, we don't have energy, well, we're eating the Kit Kats. We're not going to get on the treadmill. Okay, so that eating of the Kit Kats is going to give us that dopamine hit, but it's not going to take the stress away, because as we mentioned at the beginning of the pod, that stress isn't caused necessarily by us. It's caused by work, relationships, external factors, environmental things going on. It might be caused by us, like we might be procrastinating on something, but we're normally not just stressed for no reason. And having a Kit Kat or a Mars bar or overindulging a whole box of cereal, the answer's not normally there. We don't normally do that and go, I feel less stressed. In fact, we normally do that, and at the end of it, feel like, shit, now I feel more stressed. Because what have we done? we've put another thing on our life plate that actually we didn't want to deal with, and it's the fact that we finished a box of donuts, So we are in this vicious circle of stress makes us feel bad, food gives us that quick hit, but then makes us feel bad. And then we start that circle again. And the problem here as well is that you may or may not have heard people say, when I get stressed, I lose weight. Well, that is the minority. The majority of people with high stress tend to eat and then put weight on purely for the fact that the eating of the high processed food, the dopamine food, like counterbalances the stress of the feeling of the bad stress. Okay, there are people that will say, I can't eat when I'm stressed, and that again is to do with, just so we super clear on like our background of stress, is that when we're stressed and that cortisol hormone is being released, remember that comes from our fight or flight. Okay, so let's go back to Tiger in the Caveman. Take Tiger in the cave, going to eat us. Your body is not going to tell you when your life is threatened to be eaten by a tiger, oh, we're starving, should we make a sandwich? No, it's not going to do that. Okay, and remember, our DNA is literally 99.9% the same as it was millions of years ago, so that cortisol still has the effect. So when you are stressed, the likelihood is you don't eat because you're hungry. You eat because you want to forget about the stress feeling. So we want the dopamine hit. And that is why when you are stressed, you're never going to opt for, oh my God, I'm so stressed, I'm going to make a salad. Again, not happening. Oh my God, I'm so stressed, I want to inhale that pack of biscuits. Sugar, carbs, dopamine hit. Okay? Nobody's fucking buzzing off a tuna salad. Let's be real. You can eat it and it'd be nice when we're nice and chilled, but nobody is like, yeah, woo! Like we are after, a nice cream donut or whatever. Okay, so bear in mind when people say, I don't get hungry, I lose weight when I'm stressed, they are the minority, but it does happen that it does suppress our appetite for that reason. Bringing it back to the majority of people who eat when they're stressed. So it's important to be aware the reason that we are in chronic stress, and chronic stress is now really related to obesity, is to do with something called food availability. So we live in a society where highly processed food is extremely available. It's in our house, it's in our shops, it's in the bus station, it's at work. Everywhere you go, it is very, very easy to grab a chocolate bar, to grab some crisps, to grab a cereal bar. Okay. Now, if we're in a society where chronic stress is very present, and think about it like this. So you're stressed from work. Your then partner rings you and is like, I'm going to the pub with the lads after work. Well, that pisses you off, doesn't it? Let's be real. So then you're carrying that in relationship stress as well. You then go to get the train's cancelled, or you've got to wait half an hour. So environmental stress. You're then looking around thinking, I'm so stressed. And without even knowing it, you see the chocolate bar and you think, I'm hungry. But actually, you're not hungry. You're fucking stressed to death. Your fella's pissed you off. So you're going to go and get a chocolate bar. And then you get off the train and you come home. And because you weren't hungry and you had a chocolate bar that actually had no satisfying properties, it just gave you a dopamine hit. That dopamine hit is now crashing down. You're still pissed off. You're still stressed from work. You go in. What's in front of you? Well, you can make your tuna salad, or you've got the multi-pack biscuits that you bought. So you have them because you're chasing that dopamine hit. You then sit down and think, I can't be bothered cooking because I've had a Mars bar, I've had my biscuits. I'm just going to have a glass of wine. Oh yeah, a glass of wine will relax me and give me that dopamine hit. Once you've had a glass of wine, you're not walking. You're putting Netflix on. You're then going to bed. You've done nothing to alleviate your stress. You then wake up the next morning and think, God, I ate shit yesterday. I feel really bad. So what have you done? You've just put another parcel on your life plate. And this is how easy it is for us to live in a society of chronic stress, and how relatable it is. Because that's not even extreme. I haven't gone to the extreme there. I have just said probably what a lot of people go through day to day. But that is what's causing chronic stress. So let's talk about then And that is like an example of food availability, of how easy it is to have these processed foods around, to be like our, what you call it, like our hit, to bring that dopamine down. So when we talk about, you've heard me talk about the stress hormone cortisol, okay? So this is our hormone that gets released when we're stressed, okay? And it has, like I said, positives and negatives. We absolutely need it because it can keep us alive, okay? But as I said before about the inflammation and about the alertness, we don't need it all the time. We don't want it to be high all the time, okay? Another reason we don't want it to be high is because how it's produced and where it's produced and the effect that it has. So it's produced around your midsection, okay? This is why you may or may not have heard the term cortisol belly or cortisol face. They love to throw terms around, but basically it's a combination of when your cortisol is high all the time, it also then impacts other hormones in your body that are responsible for your metabolism, your fat burning, and when it impacts them, it impacts them negatively to not work effectively. I feel like just need to go a little bit sciencey, so bear with me 1 second, okay? Homeostasis is your body's level playing field, okay? This is where your body is happiest, when it's at its homeostasis, okay? Everything's where it should be, everything's working as it should be, it's good. Whenever things are get thrown out of whack, this is where our homeostasis get thrown out of whack, okay? For example, when our cortisol is high, it then means other things in our body go up and down, okay? So nothing's working as it should. So if you think when we're in homeostasis and everything's working as it should, this means your body is regulating blood sugar as it should. When the blood sugar comes in, it's going into our muscles, it's being preserved as energy, it's getting used as energy, okay? Your body knows to use stored fat as energy if we're not getting enough food in and we're in a calorie deficit. Okay, when cortisol is high chronically all the time, your body can't do the metabolic function it needs to do optimally for you to burn fat, which is why it can be harder to drop body fat, especially around our midsection, especially for women when we are in chronic states of stress. So it is true that when you are stressed, you can hold body weight, you can hold body fat more around your midsection. It's true, okay? But it is only true, which is why I started with this first, if your behavior is contributing towards that. If you are drinking the wine, eating the processed foods, not making good food choices, okay? So, like I said before, it is more than likely that if you are stressed and you are eating differently and eating more high processed foods, that is why you are carrying excess weight. But also, it's not going to help weight around the midsection, weight around the face, if you are in a chronic state of stress as well, and that cortisol level is permanently high. Okay, so that's how it can absolutely affect fat loss. But more often than not, it's our behavior driven by stress that is causing us to gain weight and hold on to weight. Okay. Oh, what was the one thing I was going to say? Because we're going to talk about managing it. Okay, we're going to talk about so the first point I'm going to talk about now is how to manage stress better and how to not do the behaviors we're doing when we are stressed. Okay. And the first point of call is sleep. And there's 2 reasons for this. Okay. Sleep is our biggest tool for recovery, and that is recovery physically and recovery mentally. So when you go to sleep, your body not only does like a full body scan, what needs repairing, what needs help, what do we need to do? We haven't got to think about being alive, not being alive, being awake, because we're in a nice, safe bed. You know, your body is aware that when we're safe, that is a good place to be. That is our nice, everything homeostasis place to be, and it can go through the process it needs to go to when we're asleep. Okay, it can fix everything. Also, mentally, when we go to sleep, your body does like a 24-hour feedback loop of what went on today, what do we need to remember. We'll put that in one box. What can we disregard? We'll put that in the waste paper bin. This is why lack of sleep and lack of sleep hygiene and lack of sleep routine is being studied as one of the main causes of Alzheimer's and dementia, is because people who are now being diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia, when they look at their sleep history, they've either struggled with sleeping, not got enough sleep, had bad sleep hygiene, worked a lot of shifts, worked a lot of nights. All of that impacts how your body does its like mental cleanse when it's asleep. Okay, so if you think about being asleep and your body is like stressed and it's alert, like it does a mental cleanse of, let's just debrief, let's just decompress from that. And physically, if you think about when we're stressed and we hold ourselves and we're tense and when you're asleep, you can relax all of that. So sleep is the number one of how to be less stressed and how to manage stress, is go to sleep. Have a good nighttime routine and give yourself that optimal window of 7 to 9 hours to sleep. I don't think, because I feel like the people who listen to this like want to learn and want to get better. But if you are one of these people that say, I can't get enough sleep because I'm too stressed, I've got too much to do. Girl, listen to what you are saying. You are setting yourself up for an even bigger fail, because you are just going to be in a cycle. Remember what we said about distress? It doesn't just get bad and stay bad. It gets bad and it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. And there will be a point where physically or mentally your body will not be able to cope, and that will come out through illness, through mental burnout. Like your body will physically say, I'm stressed to fuck and I can't do anymore. Now, if you are one of these people who say, I can't sleep enough, or I don't go to sleep enough because I've got too much to do, like, take a load off your life plate from somewhere. Take it off. And then what you're going to find, better go through these, how to manage stress, what load that should be. Okay, so sleep is the first one. When it comes to fat loss, I've done a whole other episodes on sleep, so you can go and listen to that. But it's not about sleep, it's about health, it's about fat loss. But two things I said about sleep. So I said it goes through your mental and your physical de-stress, but also we know without optimal sleep, we are not working with optimal energy. If we have got stress in our lives, which most of us do, but we can turn it into good stress, we need to have optimal energy to get through that. And if we don't get enough sleep, we're not getting enough energy to then get through the day. So what are we doing? We're turning to food. What type of food is it? It's processed food. What does processed food do? Make us stress because it's not good for our body. So again, sleep again, going to massively help us. So sleep is my number one, how to manage your stress and make sure that your stress is either coming down or being manageable. Go to sleep. Right. Next one is mental resilience. So remember at the beginning when I spoke about your life plate and I said some people's plates are bigger than others. Well, how to increase your life plate is by practicing the good stress, by practicing going through situations that are going to push you that little bit, but not completely off the cliff. Okay, you just want to get pushed to the edge of the cliff and then run back. Okay, and then you get a little bit closer and then run back. Okay, is that by improving your mental resilience and your mental strength, you are then going to be able to improve how much of that allostatic load you can take. And it might not be loads at a time. For example, you're listening to this thinking, I'm stressed to death. Fucking hell, no wonder I couldn't get to the gym, plan my food and do this. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go for a walk every day. That's it. Because right now, you've just said going to the gym and doing your food is too much. So you need to now implement going for a 5-minute, 10-minute walk every day, because even that 5-10 minutes might not seem where you want to be. It's going to be the step to get you there. Okay, so you need to make sure that you are doing small actions each day. So if right now tracking your foods on MyFitnessPal, being in a calorie deficit is too much for you, start writing a meal plan out on a Sunday. What are you having for your breakfast, your lunch, your tea? Go to the shop, buy it. Don't worry about weighing it. Don't worry about putting it in MyFitnessPal. Just go buy it and eat it. That is your starting block of, okay, moving forwards. And then maybe in a few weeks, you can start putting it in MyFitnessPal. That might not be so much of a load. But improving mental resilience is going to improve your life plate and your ability to carry a little bit more stress. Okay, the next one is being planned. This is not going to shock anyone because it probably comes up in every podcast. Being planned, being organized, to reduce overwhelm, to reduce chronic stress. Okay. If you are planned in life and you are organized with the shit that you've got going on, whenever something or someone comes in and says, oh, can you just do this? Can you just do that? You can physically see where your gaps of time or gaps of mental space are. So for me right now, me personally, I don't have any gaps. There are no gaps for people to say, can you do this? Can you do that? The answer is a straight up no. Now I have got good boundaries with like myself and with others. So I know for me, the most important things in my day to day now are making sure I'm eating right, making sure I'm sleeping right, making sure I'm working out and moving my body. And then it is like, okay, work. Because right now I'm building a baby and I know that stress is not good for me. And pushing myself to that extreme in my situation is not good for me. Whereas this time last year, I'd probably take more on because I'd be like, okay, I can deal with it. It's short term, I can deal with it. But right now, it's not important to me. My importance is my morning routine, my nighttime routine, the food, and the movements in between. And then I know that I've got quite a big life plate. So I know that the work I've got on, that, like I said before, for other people might be like, fucking, you've still got a lot on. But for me, I'm always one of these people who wants more and take on more. And right now, it's a no. And it's having that ability to say, where is the gap of my what's the words I'm thinking of? Like brain space that I could say, yeah, I could fit that in. Okay, it isn't. And what I was saying before about moving things off and on your life plate, okay? Your life plate to manage chronic stress should have good sleep, good food, daily movement, good relationships. What else have I missed off? Managing work. Okay, the little things that we've covered, they should be glued on our plate. Okay, it shouldn't be a case of, oh, so and so's asked me to go to the pub quiz every Wednesday. I haven't really got time to life plate that, so I'm going to take out my workout from a Wednesday and put that on instead. Go get pissed. No, it's not good life plate management. Okay, it's looking at, okay, well, actually, I really want to go to this pub quiz, but I know that having that alcohol is actually going to increase my stress level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the pub quiz. I'm going to walk there, walk back, get my daily movement in. Okay, and then I'll still get it. Like, that is being planned, being organized, not being overwhelmed, and managing your life place. Okay, so organization to reduce overwhelm of stress is absolutely key. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the time when people come to me and want to work with me coaching wise, a lot of the excuses come from time management. Do you remember that quote that Molly May said and she got absolutely scrutinized for? It was like, we've all got the same 24 hours. I half back that, because I said half, don't roll your eyes, because I get what she was trying to say. Yes, we've all got 24 hours, but not everyone's got the same 24 hours. Okay, some of us have got kids, have got double jobs, but we have all still got the same 24 hours that we can do our best to manage. That's the key. It's not saying my life is harder than yours and I can't do anything about it. It's going, my 24 hours are a little bit more difficult, but let me see if I've got 3 hours that I can manage, what can I do with them to make them better? I hope that's what she was trying to say anyway, because that's what I would like to see it as, is that we all have 24 hours. No, they're not the same, but we can all try our best to make them the best for us. And that comes down to being planned, being organised. Okay, the last one then. Is this the longest podcast I've ever done solo? 48 minutes talking just me. I need a medal. Here we go. Lifestyle. Lifestyle is probably going to have it is, I'm going to say, the biggest impact, because your sleep routine and your sleep hygiene is part of your lifestyle. Okay, it's going to have the biggest impact on how you manage your stress levels. So things I've got written down to just touch on before is your food intake, your quality of your food. If you are living a stressful life, the correlation between people who have high stress jobs and have more than 5 cups of caffeine a day, high. The people who come and work with me and are in a high stress job and don't eat breakfast, high, because they're not prioritizing what's going in as fuel. They'll just grab a coffee and a croissant because it's easy. They can walk, they can get to work. What are they prioritizing? They're prioritizing that stress. So when we look at food and lifestyle, we need to look at, okay, what food is going to cause inflammation? It's processed food that my body doesn't know necessarily how to break down, how to work with, food that is going to signal high dopamine hit and then a low dopamine crash. So then I go and get something else sugary. That type of food is not good for our stress levels, okay? We want to keep it with whole foods, high protein, sugar stabilizing foods, blood sugar stabilizing foods. We want to limit caffeine, we want to increase water. Okay, so food intake is absolutely massive when it comes to managing stress. Side note to foods, alcohol. We know that alcohol increases stress, especially the day after, because it massively impairs our sleep. And we've covered sleep. Sleep's fucking massive. Okay, so now you know that when you hear alcohol's not that great for you, make sure it's selective, make sure it's a one-off. You know me, girls. I love a Prosecco, I love an Aperol, but at the same time, it's not part of my staple diet because of the impact that it will have on, by the way, not now, obviously 6 months pregnant, I'm not smashing the Aperols, but like, it's not a weekly thing for me, it's a special occasion thing, because I'm willing to take the hit on having a few drinks and enjoying it and being like, oh, I feel a bit rough the next day, because I know they're few and far between. Pick your poison. So alcohol does massively impair your sleep, which will impair your stress as well. One of the best things that you can do if you're suffering with chronic stress is cut out alcohol and caffeine. Work and exercise. Okay, so work, we know, being in it, how we can apply this to being in work. If your work is super, super stressful all of the time, you need to take it on the chin that is your fault. If anyone came to the Empowered Day, this was a very repeated phrase that I said, is that we can always own our actions. And if we're feeling super stressed, is it because we've taken on too much and we need to go and speak to our manager and say, I've taken on too much? Or if you're like, oh my God, no, I'll get the sack, you need to speak to someone and say, I'm struggling managing this. I don't think it's too much. I just don't feel like I've got all my eggs in the right basket. Can you help me? You need to be planned. You need to be organized. You need to have boundaries. It is okay to say, I want to learn, I'm struggling, because that gives us mental resilience. And we've spoke about mental resilience and said that with mental resilience comes growth. Okay. But growth can only come if we say, I need help. I'm challenged here. And it's okay to say, I don't know how to overcome this challenge. Can you help me? Because that person's going to go, yeah, sure, this is what I would do. Oh, I get it now. I've grown. I've got mental resilience. I can now expand my life stress, please. So if work is your stressor, you've got options. You don't just have to go into work and struggle with it all the time. If you hate your job, get a fucking new job, because life is too short. And that doesn't mean you have to go in and quit. It means start looking for one and set the cogs in motion. Because there is nothing more sad for me to feel like you are spending the majority of your life doing something you hate that causes you stress. It's making you ill and unhealthy. Exercise. Exercise is important because it is a good stress. It is a stress management technique. Exercise can be done in lots of different variations. If your stress levels are super, super, super high, you do not want to then be going and doing a super, super, super high stressful workout. Okay? Think about it, logic, okay? Stress on stress on stress, not good. But exercise can still be classed as a run walk, a jog, a hike, some bodyweight movements, some press ups, some lunges. But exercise is still going to be good for you, okay? It's going to help you disconnect mentally from your other stresses. It's going to get your body moving so you're not too stiff. It's going to help you sleep better. It's going to help balance them blood sugar levels that might be super high from your cortisol being high. So exercise is definitely something that we want on our life plate that's going to help balance our stress. I sort of covered that one: managing work, managing your relationships, having conversations, setting boundaries. That's a big one. I've done an episode on setting boundaries if you want to listen to that. So in a nutshell, how to manage your stress: go to sleep first, eat good food, be planned, be organized, do your exercise, limit your alcohol, set your boundaries, know what you want in work, ask for help. Everything that, again, just accumulates a healthy life comes into help reducing stress. Okay, can't believe I've nearly done an hour, but that is it. That is our stress episode. So hopefully, guys, you found this really helpful. I think with this, before you shoot off and you do press end next episode, whatever, if you found this helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could give me a rating on Spotify or Apple, and please share it to your socials. Not for me, but because this information, I feel like, is what so many more people need to hear to help with the society that we're living in chronic stress, and help to manage it and help to understand it. So if you could do that for me, I would be super, super grateful. And I am so glad that that's done. This was a huge stress for me because it was stressing me out, and now I've done it. But yeah, as always, guys, please drop me a DM on Instagram @_em.powered. Let me know your thoughts on it. And as always, I will see you next time. I'm super grateful for your support and for your listening. Have a great day. Love you. Bye.